told at one point that Group 1 originated from what we consider to be the Andromeda galaxy, and that is where their planet of habitation is, where they probe the denser realms, and also the Oversouls maintain their awareness of light. I was told from some of the Oversouls of Group 4 that I belong to that just like Group 1 originated somewhere around the Andromeda galaxy region, that Group 2 that later joined to Group 1 had originated somewhere around the Pleiadian or Pleiades region of the universe. That's where they had been doing this, and with Earth, they decided to also start doing it on Earth, and guided the evolution of Earth to mirror that which their home planet had been designed to do in order to send their offsprings into lower realms. I was told that that which is termed Krishna from Hinduism, all of this culture came from Group 1, and that is one reason why reincarnation is such a steeped part of their religion and culture. It is a reflection of the way that these Oversouls in Group 1 have been evolving. I was told that Group 2, another group, joined them, and from that group, one of the incarnations of that group was the Buddha. Now, I discussed in a previous video how the Buddha, what the purpose of the incarnation of the Buddha was in this. The Buddha taught us how to deal with suffering, pain, death, sickness, old age, and how to accept that all life is suffering. And the reason why was because the lower realms, especially Malkuth, which is the densest realm where we are now embodied, is a realm of pain and suffering. And that is one reason why the Buddha taught that all life is pain and suffering. And again, I explained in an earlier video that he did not teach people the reason why existence here in the lower realms is pain and suffering. Life is not meant to be pain and suffering. Dee has not been evolving in pain and suffering. Pain and suffering emerged only as these Oversouls began to probe the denser realms. And in these denser realms, we feel ourselves as more separate. We only perceive that which is around us according to the senses of the bodies that we are inhabiting temporarily in these denser realms. So we see ourselves as more separate, disconnected from one another, and in this sense of separation and in the experiences of old age, death, and sickness, we see life as suffering. And the Buddha came into Malkuth, the lowest realm, to teach his group primarily about all pain in life is suffering. Accept it and just deal with it. Be consciously aware of it and just know that life is suffering. But again, he didn't tell people why life is suffering. Life is not meant to be suffering. And this is something the Oversouls know. That's one reason they do not embody the lower realms, nor experience them firsthand. They do not desire that. They just desire the curiosity and knowledge of the lower realms, because the lower realms are suffering. And they want to know what suffering feels like, but they don't want to suffer themselves. And that is the whole reason of reincarnation. And that is why they have guided the evolution of Earth and the evolution of their own planet in lower realms to create these embodiments of which their soul offspring could be procreated and then experience the suffering for them. And then upon their death, again, be drawn up into a tunnel of light, focused back up into a tunnel, back into the presence of the Oversoul, who never has to do it itself. Again, I want to reiterate that the four groups, the 73 souls, and especially Group 1, who has been doing it for billions of years, they are the ones who began this evolution of through reincarnation. And they are the ones who've been practicing this for billions of years, I've been told. And I don't know the exact number, but they have been practicing it for billions of years, and as such, they lost a sense of innocence and have developed very much of an indifference. And they reside in this joyous realm, but the way that I have come to understand them through some of my interactions with them is that all embodiments of their children are pawns, and we aren't meant to know very much because they don't want us to know. And you don't want your pawn to know very much. Otherwise, if your pawn knew exactly what it was as a soul and why it had been begotten in lower realms by this Oversoul parent, the whole entire process of their experiences would be thwarted or messed up. They've been evolving this way for billions of years, and they are considered an isolated group of the billions of angel souls who never lose their innocence. Incarnating in lower realms brings suffering and pain to the deathless self we all share. And Dee does not desire to dream the universe up and have it be a bad dream of suffering. She desires to joyously experience the gratitude of what it means to exist forever. And their practice of reincarnation has brought pain to the self, and the memories of the pain that has been brought back to them through their offspring that they have incarnated and reintegrated into their Oversoul selves has also brought them a loss of sense of innocence. And I've come to realize that they're used to this. They are quite different from the billions of other angels who never did this. And in some of my discussions, I've asked them if they felt innocent, and they do not feel innocent. And the reason they don't feel innocent is because they have been given the one thing within the primal self that they have been denying to their offspring. Once their souls were conceived by other angel souls, they were given the gift of forever acting for themselves. They are a pure microcosm of the macrocosm, as we all are, except for they don't give that gift to their offspring. They use their procreative powers to probe denser realms and then strip those offspring after their brief sojourns in the astral planes below and in Malkuth or over, of the one thing that they would never want to lose, which is their ability to forever act for itself. That is eternal life. And that is what the angelic realm of the billions of souls that do not practice incarnation see as an abuse of the Dee essence by procreating offspring and using the essence of Dee in this manner, bringing suffering to the entirety of the primal self in the process that we all share, plus denying the one thing that these oversouls were given, eternal life to forever act for themselves within the Amen of time and space. Groups 1 and 2, again, were the first, and they have been here since the beginning. I believe 65 million years, as soon as evolution reached a point where they felt that their embodiments, that they had been directing the course of evolution through animals and humans, finally reached what they wanted to inhabit and embody for their offspring. They began about 65 million years ago, 63 million years ago, to send their offspring down into these animal embodiments and human embodiments. And they have been doing it since the conception of Earth, guiding its evolution, directing it through genetics. And the whole purpose was for them to embody their offspring in the lower realms, to experience the sorrow and the suffering the lower realms would experience through death and through this Maya that is totally magnified. Maya is the illusion of duality, and we experience it intensely the denser the realms of embodiment that their offspring inhabit. And this has brought much pain and suffering and the lack of sense of unity to the one self that we all share. I wish there was more I could tell you about groups 1 and 2. All I know is that some of the incarnations have been from group 1, again, Krishna, the Hindu culture, and Buddhism emerged out of Hinduism. Buddha was an incarnation of group 2, and each of these groups have between around 14 to 21 souls in these two groups of Oversouls. Later there was another group, group 3. I do not know very much about group 3 at all. I haven't asked questions about group 3, but I know that they have been there earlier than group 4. And in my next video I'm going to discuss group 4 because that's the group I belong to. My Oversoul was part of group 4. Group 4 has 23 souls, and they began incarnating with the other 3 groups around 3,300 years ago, and it started with David, King David in the Old Testament, Jonathan, and from that group emerged the mystic tradition of the Kabbalah. And all of these traditions, though, mirror the same esoteric teachings. If you study the Kabbalah, you study the Bhagavad Gita, you study the teachings of Buddha, there are a lot of underlying mystical teachings. These mystical groups emerged from these groups of Oversouls: Hinduism, Buddhism, the Kabbalah. And again, group number 4, which consists of 23 souls, I was told currently makes up 1/6 of the population, and the Kabbalistic tradition of Jewish mysticism and Judeo-Christianity emerged from that group. And again, that group has been here for approximately 3,300 years, beginning with King David.